Because a lot of people have had empowerment stripped from them. A lot of people are living in refugee situations and in in places and situations all over the world where they no longer have control over their environment. Now, this control was stripped away from them when they ran from war, from persecuting, from their persecution wherever they originally lived. But it's also continually stripped from them time and time again as they try to go to another country. The reason they are resettled in Canada is because they have no durable solution. That's the third. When we look at what qualifies refugees to be sponsored, they need to meet the United Nations definition for a refugee. So they need to be outside their country of origin. That means their control over their environment and what they originally wanted for their life has already been stripped away. Then they need to be they also need to have no other durable solutions. So the place that they have run to is no good. There is no empowerment there. They have no control over their own situation. Perhaps their children cannot attain citizenship. They cannot go to school. They cannot have health care. Um, that's the case for a lot of Syrian people um, that are living in Lebanon right now. They cannot be treated as an equal in that society, and so they need to be resettled because um, they need to have a place that's empowering to them. And so when we think of this, what is empowerment? We think of this: enabling someone to gain greater control over his or her environment and attain his or her aspirations. So what I want you to do is I want you to gather or turn to your groups again, and I want you to start to brainstorm how can you empower people in a sponsorship year? How will you empower your family in this coming year? And I'll give you a few minutes to do that. I'll give you about a minute to wrap up your conversations, and then we'll ask for some feedback. So what did your groups have to say? What ways did you think that you could empower as a sponsorship group?
Everybody just volunteered you. Your back was turned.
But they just all pointed at you. Okay, go ahead.
Which way to look?
Yeah, just look at them. Just look in general.
You can look wherever you want.
I think this is kind of a large question. So there's all the different pieces of empowerment, and we were kind of just talking about individual things like empowering someone in the family to get their license so that they're not dependent on us to drive them around all the time, and education and empowering them to learn English and so they can better communicate with everyone in our society. And there's so many pieces, so we were just kind of talking about each of those individual pieces.
Great. Another group?
Help them to find a job so that they got control over their own finances.
You look like you really wanted to say something. It's like in an auction when you accidentally scratch your nose and buy something you don't need. A tractor, yeah, that's right.
I actually found a really good example. Raquel here was saying empowerment to her is just to get her kids, find them the right sport or buy their skates. So I looked at her, I was like, you're thinking about those because you have your basic need met. In other cases, like, Syrian refugees in Lebanon, and they don't have those basics met, so they don't have that chance to think of sending their kids to hockey or soccer, wherever they want to play. They're looking into, feeding them and have a safe house for them. So that was like a really good two perspectives on what empowerment. So I found that was very interesting.
Yeah, as much as people hate sports, having sports is a sign of peace, by the way. It is. Countries that don't have sports don't have peace. Okay, someone else. Oh, no, Fatima, you have to talk into the mic. Here you go. You go.
What did I say now? You know this guy Ennis here, that new family? He went for hockey.
Yeah, well, yeah.
And just like giving him pot of gold. He come back so thrilled. Unbelievable.
Yeah, the United Church with their refugee family had Assad. His first name is Assad, right? Isn't it?
Ennis.
Oh, Anas. Oh, that wasn't even close. Anyways, I happened to meet him at the hockey game, but yeah, he went to the hockey game. It was nice. Yeah, and he even got a fight. There was a fight that night, too, and he says, it's so nice to see the fight only there. So, good.
And we're talking about the Syrians in Lebanon. My family's house, like many of my family's house, is full of Syrians.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A country of 4 million people now has 5 million, and 1 million of which are guests. So.
I think those were all really good examples that you had of empowerment, because what you were saying was that those are all pieces of empowerment because people were working towards independence, but you were also, those are all pieces where people there's a participatory process in them. Education, driving, even finding sports equipment for your children is something that is a process that you can participate in with someone else, and so that's really important. I'm looking for now 2 volunteers. We have a little bit of a role play, and Joel has the scripts for you. So I need 2 volunteers to play someone from a sponsored group and a newly arrived refugee person. Don't all jump up at once. I need 2 volunteers.
Okay, volunteers, come on. I'll start pointing. Okay, good. Thank you, Pastor. Does he have to come up or what?
Yeah, he has to. If he could come up, and
Okay,
if
come on
2
up,
people
Greg.
could read this script with
And
you.
he needs a partner in crime. Go. Which one is it?
The shopping trip.
Shopping trip? Good. So there's one for you, Greg. Let me give you a mic. There you go.
Doesn't have Greg on here.
That's true. Okay, we need someone else. I need a Mary. Mary, come on, Mary. Oh my God. Oh, good. I'll get you a mic too. Hold that for a second. Is it on? Yes, it is. Okay.
So this is Mary and Amani. Amani, you may have to. You are a woman in the script, but you just may have to say your wife instead of your husband. um, and you in the orange, I think, it are Mary. And this is a shopping trip that a sponsor group member is taking a refugee person on. Go.
Good morning, Monty. Ready to go? They've got lots of specials on the market today. We should be able to get some good deals.
Good morning, Mary. How are you doing today? I am glad to see you well. Yes, I am ready.
Good. It's probably going to be busy, so I want to get there before the crowds. Have you made a list?
Yes, but I can change it if there is something better. I'm used to doing that.
Well, here's this week's allowance. Let's begin.
Some cereal, some Pop-Tarts.
Oh, Amani, Pop-Tarts? Sugared cereal? I think we can do better than that. Let's look over here at these generics. They're a good deal. And some healthy cereals. Let's just put these back.
Oh no, is she going to direct all my purchases? I can't get my son to eat so many things. At least he likes the cereal and the Pop-Tarts. I know my own family, and I've had a lot of practice getting food for us in very difficult times. I'm sure she's trying to help, but I'm so irritated by her manner. But Mary, my son does not like that cereal. He will not eat. I worry about him.
Later, ... Well, Amani, I guess that's it for now. Let's get to the checkout. Oh, you're buying cigarettes?
My husband has smoked a long time. In our country, almost everyone smokes. I know it is bad for us, but it is so hard to stop, especially now when we feel so much stress. Just one pack, please, for Oliver. It is hard for my husband without a cigarette. My wife. Whatever.
Oh, there's so much Amani needs to know. Smart shopping, healthy living. If I could teach him, if he'd just give me a chance. And our money would go further, too. Well, I guess that's okay. Is your wife trying to quit?
No, but I can't tell her. She doesn't seem to understand how hard it is to get used to this country, and she seems to expect us to change so fast. I know she's trying to help, but right now I only feel more stress. Oh yes, Mary. She is trying.
Ta-da!
Thank you, Greg and Raquel.
Thank you very much, volunteers. That's just a little bit of a scenario on a shopping trip. As you were listening to that and seeing this interaction, what are some of the thoughts and feedback that you've had? What are the ways that you would do the same? What are the ways that you could see it happening different? And you can just stand up.
Yeah, just yell this one.
I think what Raquel was trying to do was do her best at educating and being healthy food, and he was kind of agreeing, but was getting very frustrated with her trying to make all the decisions for him.
Yeah, so she was frustrated because she was making all the decisions for him. Okay, yeah. Maybe you have to use the mic, because then poor Dana can't hear. Someone else. Okay, sorry.
I suppose we'll have to be careful not to impose our values
Mm.
and be sensitive to the fact that they're facing so many changes.
Yep. For sure. What'd you say? Like picking their own clothes. Yes.
Yeah.
I've never actually done that in my life, but so go ahead, Sam.
As she was talking about before, like it's a sense of empowerment. You're not just giving them the the option of picking. You're picking it for them. So what's the point of do the promise to them? You're gonna be free to make those options on your own. But yet you're taking them to the market and you're making that choice for them. So here they still, even they're safe, but they lost that sense of empowerment that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Very good.
And that gets tricky when you don't agree with those decisions.
Yes.
That gets tricky when all of a sudden that empowerment piece that you're trying to work and trying to help someone with, that all of a sudden that they're not making decisions that you think, and they're not making, perhaps they're a large priority to them is to get a satellite dish or satellite. And that may not make any sense to you. Why in the world would you spend so much money on satellite? But until you have a conversation with them and you start to get to understand, maybe that's the only way that they can get news from Syria that they find is appropriate for them. And maybe they're willing to spend that money on the satellite, even though it would make no sense to you because you know that they have less money for food. And that's something to think about as you go through sponsorships, or just some of the difficult pieces as well. There will be so many beautiful pieces of sponsorship, but there's also pieces that may start to not make some sense, or they may get frustrating. And it's good to start to think through these things. Any other thoughts or feedback from that scenario?
Hi there. So for those of us that are taking them, transporting them to get groceries, I guess, is there going to be a guideline for how much money we are supposed to be spending on them? And how do you make that decision if they're wanting to buy all food that might not last them for the whole week or whatever? Like, are we responsible to help them with their budget at all?
Yes. Yes. And that's a good question, because there's that empowerment doesn't mean, oh, you're all on your own. Empowerment is walking next to someone, right? And so, yes, as a sponsor group, you are responsible for their budget. And you have an outlined budget, which I will give you, or have given you. I don't know exactly where
You
we
haven't
are.
given it yet, but
And with that budget, you will go to the grocery store with them. Now, at the beginning, it's very appropriate to go through, talk to them about generic brands, name brands, all the pointers of Canadian grocery shopping. I'm just taking this specific example. I think it's translatable to other settlement pieces. But those are things that if I move to another country, I'd also want to know. What are the ins and outs of shopping here? And as your relationship, and I think that's part of the learning piece. But then as they settle more and they make their own decisions more, you need to let go of that piece and say, well, I said that, but they may not agree with it. Or I think that they should be eating more fruits and vegetables, but chips seem to be a very good option for them. And so that's when we cannot impose our beliefs and even our nutritious beliefs on another family. However, I do think that and kind of an underlying theme of this evening is just communication and friendship. And the next piece I have here is to ask, or to say, once your relationships grow and your friendships grow, then it's even more appropriate to start having more conversations, because trust is built. But until a trust relationship is built, you don't want to take your power imbalance and hoard it over someone. You want to be able to balance those things and balance those acts of teaching and training and still empowering people at the same time. One thing I like to remind people of is that these people that have come to Canada, there are millions of refugees around the world, and a very, very small percentage of those people who who need to be resettled are ever resettled in a country like Canada. And those people that get chosen to be resettled, they typically don't get resettled because they've sat on the sidelines and waited for someone to pick them. They are fighters, and fighters in a very good, positive way, I'm saying. They have people that have advocated for themselves, that have pushed the limits, that have knocked on door again and again and again and again in order to get their family here. And as soon as they land in Canada, that piece of advocating and fighting and communicating for themselves and their family, that doesn't just drop off and all of a sudden we just listen to whatever you say. they also they also are here in Canada, and they need to maneuver this system for their family now. And different people do this different ways, and that's something that you'll have to discover about your family. Just like your whole room of people, if all of you were put in a situation where you had to maneuver a country or a culture or even just a scenario in front of you, you would all do it differently because your personalities are all different. And so it's important to think of these people as not just refugees, and trauma is not the only thing that defines them, but they're people. And you will relate to them as you get to know them more and more. So my question for you is, when we think about being a sponsor group and we think about coming together as a sponsor group, what values are important? And the way I like to phrase this is, in a friendship and in a relationship that you have in your life, what values are important to you? I know trust is very important to me. Yeah, you can yell those out.
Honesty, good.
Honesty.
Respect. Love. Oh, thanks. Yes, love putting others first. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what else? Oh, that wrapped it up. Oh, sorry. What else?
That's done.
Respect, I think we got, yeah. Acceptance. There we go. Family. Reliability. There's a good one.
Yeah.
Being a good neighbor. Yeah.
Yeah, all of these.
Empathy. Good. Yep. Anything else? Is that enough, Dana?
I think those are all
Can we
good
do that?
points. And they are all things that we value in our relationships outside of our sponsor group, but they are all very integral to a sponsor group as well. And as you relate with people and as you get to know your family, I encourage you to think of all those pieces of relationships that you value, and to try to enact that within the relationship with your refugee family as well. Um, Sorry, I'm just gonna into one more. Can you see that screen now? Oops. And then also at the same time, there is some ethical things to think about when we think about sponsorships. So one is confidentiality. So when you're in a sponsor group, you may hear things about or you may learn pieces of your family's story that are very close to them, very important to them, and very intimate to them. They may tell you pieces of their journey, and how they ended up and what their feelings were. Those pieces are yours to keep. And so I encourage you as a sponsor group, just because the community is welcoming people, these people may be highlighted in the community, that doesn't mean that their personal stories are everybody's business. Those, just like you don't want your personal story shared all over, it is the same in a refugee sponsorship situation. We've talked a lot about independence, but also there's a piece of boundaries. And boundaries are really important too, because when your sense of independence has been stripped away, and when you have been knocking on doors for so long, you also may lose a sense of boundaries. And that is something that's important for your group to understand, um, so that your group doesn't get completely drained and your group is able to sustainably sponsor. I want, when as Joel said, to fill this room with refugees. In order to fill this room with refugees, you need to have a sustainable first sponsorship. If you don't have a sustainable first sponsorship, you will be so tired that you will say, "No, I'm very happy with just the front row being filled. Thank you." And I don't want that for you because I think that wonderful things could happen if you fill up that room. But what that means is that you need to have some boundaries in place. And so, in the end of the day, um, part of being independent is also living with the consequences of that. If people make decisions that are not the decisions you may agree with, um, yeah, there's a piece there that you will work out as you do a sponsorship. And then participatory, and I think we've talked about that too. Um, Joel, how many more minutes do we have here?
I don't know, what time is it?
8:05.
Yep, I got you scheduled for at least another 15, so.
Oh, good. Okay. So one of the things that we
Actually,
cute little
it's 20, because we didn't start till 8. Okay, so yeah, 20.
perfect, loads of time.
Okay.
We talk about expectations as well. When we think about sponsorships and we think about what we envision in our head, expectations is a big thing. And there's this cute little, I'm sure it's gone around YouTube or something, I don't know what it would be called. A young couple moves into a new neighborhood, and the next morning the young woman sees her neighbor hanging the wash outside. "That laundry's not very clean," she said. "She doesn't know how to wash correctly. Perhaps she needs better laundry soap." Her husband looked on, but remained silent. Every time her neighbor would hang her wash to dry, the woman said the same comments. About a month later, the woman was surprised to see a nice clean wash on the line, and she said, "Look, she's learned to wash correctly. I wonder who taught her this." The husband said, "I got up early and cleaned her windows." And it's a cute little story, and I feel like it's a cute story because it talks about our expectations and how we see things. And how we see things will always be through the lenses in which our expectations are. And until we start to talk and communicate with people, those expectations won't become realistic until that point. I have another role playing, so I need 2 more volunteers.
Ben and Alice, is that what it says?
Yes.
So I need a Ben. Is there actually someone named Ben? Because if it is, you're in. No Ben. I need a Ben. Excellent. Brett starts with B, close enough. I need an Alice. There you go. Here, I'll let you take the paper and rip it and pull it apart and give it to Alice when she gets here. Alice, come on. There we go. There we go.
So this is Ben and Alice. Ben and Alice are part of a sponsorship group. They have sponsored Dina and Miroslav. They've sponsored Dina and Miroslav, and they're in the process of their sponsorship, and they've just now are at a sponsorship meeting. There you go.
Greetings, everyone. Can we call this meeting to order? Let's begin with a review of our sponsorship of Miroslav and the family. How long is it now?
7 months. Time to get Miroslav out to work.
Well, hang on a minute, Ben. His English still needs a lot of work. If he stops studying now, he'll pretty much be condemned to the lowest paying jobs. And he has no idea how to even look for a job in Canada. He'll need training for that too. If he goes to work now, his life will hardly be better than it was in Europe.
Miroslav has had all the basic ESL classes now. That should be good enough. Lots of people come here with less help than that, and they make it. And Dinah's working. It's good enough for her.
I wish Ben would try to understand what they're going through. He just doesn't seem to get it. I don't think that's quite fair, Ben. Dina works as a cleaner when there is work. She hasn't had many hours lately, and you know, she doesn't get much chance to talk when she's at work, so her English isn't benefiting from this job at all.
They've got a better life just being in Canada. We can't hand people forever. They're safe and they have the chance to work. There's lots of others that need our help. We should be directing our money toward them now.
Well, we've committed to supporting them for a year. I think they should have some say in what they want to do. Miroslav wants to study more, I think. Then, when he gets a decent job, Dinah can quit cleaning and go to classes.
I know that Jim Brown would give him a job on his big farm. I still think they can work and study if they want. If they couldn't, I wouldn't push for it. But I really feel that we should be looking to help a new family now. We gave Miro and Dina their chance.
Well, what about the kids? They'll be in school, and there'll be lots of extras coming up for them. Miro had a good job before they had to run. If he gets a good base in English, he should be able to build a career here too, and a better life.
She needs to be more realistic. You're not convincing me, Alice. I thought that we agreed 1 year support or until they got working, whichever came first. So I think we should help them get to work starting now.
Ben just doesn't see the importance of education. This is not going to be fixed tonight. I don't think we can resolve our differences tonight, Ben. Why don't we all think it over and meet again next week to discuss your ideas further?
Right.
Thank you much. Next time I'll actually turn your mic on, Brett.
So I have a quick question. Just a quick show of hands. There's no right or wrong answer here.
Okay.
Who in the room agrees with Alice? And who in the room would agree with Ben? Ben's not just the bad guy. No Bens? Oh, so would someone mind sharing, why did you agree with Alice more than Ben?
Okay. Who wants to share? Come on, fess up. You all voted. Didn't think I had to share. Who's going to share? Why? Okay, good. Thank you, Arlene.
I think the better grasp of English they've got, the better job they're going to get.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, I'll steal it.
So say it again. Okay, so they're going to learn English on the job. Okay, good. Is that what you were going to say? Okay, fair enough. Go ahead, Raquel.
I was just going to say that they're here for the long term, so to rush them in a process was where I was thinking that, it's long term, so 3 months, if you're rushing them into a job versus 4 months longer of learning something would give you long-term benefits.
Okay. Sort of well, this is good now. Now we got them going.
I was thinking more about the empowerment for this family. It seemed like Ben and Alice were making decisions without really involving the family.
Good catch.
I'm gonna pause the conversation here.
Good.
And then I need 2 more volunteers to come up and be Miroslav and Dina.
This is a short one, by the way.
This is a very short one.
So, Miroslav and Dinah.
Yes.
I'll pick. Don't make me. Miroslav. Is Dinah a guy or a girl?
Dinah's the girl.
Okay. Miroslav. Guy. Whose name begins with M? Men. Is there someone with a name begin with M? Okay, come on up. Whose name begins with D, ladies? Well, I know there's a few of those kicking around. Yeah, Janice was just here, so. Any other D's? How about C? Okay, good enough. Done. Come on. You've been voluntold. I'll actually turn the mic on this time. So. Yours is on, yeah.
Oh.
I just turned yours. There we go. Good. All right.
You were late tonight, Dina. How was your day?
Oh, Mira, I'm so tired tonight. We had to clean a house so dirty pigs would not live in it, and the smell, it was terrible.
I feel so bad that you must do this work. As soon as I get a good job, you can stop cleaning and stay at home with the children.
Oh, Mira, I don't know if I want to stay at home. That is lonely too. And I want to study English too. It's too bad we both couldn't study together. It's your turn now. And if you study hard, then you can get a real job, like back home, not like me.
But I always have worked for the family. I should be working now, any job.
No, Miro, we agreed. For 1 year you study, you get good enough English. Then you get a good job. With the church money and my work, we can get by for a while.
Tonight we are tired. We don't argue, okay? Make us a coffee, eh?
Thanks, guys. Yeah. All right, good. All right,
So, I think that last comment that you had about the committee making the decisions, thinking of you eavesdropping on this conversation, does that change your perspective, or does that change how you would go about that meeting?
Yeah,
Yeah?
that's what everybody
Okay.
said. They all said yeah.
Yeah, okay. Would you like to expand, or would you like to...
Well, that's a good insight. The previous conversation didn't really take into consideration the actual people they were talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there we go. The actual role-playing artist himself will share with us.
I was thinking maybe it would be beneficial to bring this conversation up with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Anybody else? Okay.
I mean, if you're gonna wait till they speak good English, I mean, look at me. I've been here for 10 years. I still can't speak English. So, after 2 degrees in university, still you have your accent. You're not, but you have to have that will that you actually want to go out and get a job and do it, regardless what your English is. I understand, without English, you're most likely. My first job was McDonald's, and I gained my weight from there, so I don't want to go back. But it actually, gave me the ambition to go and get a university degree and so on.
Well, your English is better than a lot of people who grew up in Canada, Sammy, so don't worry about that. Yeah. Good.
Yeah, I think those are all good points, and I think again, I said this earlier this evening, but I think communication is the key, and a participatory process is the key, and so not just the sponsor group making their decisions over here, solo of the family, but having the family be involved in those decisions and working towards those decisions together. And so one thing that I recommend for groups to do is to sit down and say, what are your goals here? What are your ambitions here in Canada? Let's walk alongside you as we do these things. Let's not walk ahead of you. Let's not pull you along.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not walk behind you. Let's not push. But I think let's walk beside you. And as we're talking and as we communicate and as your group melts together and all those relationships form, it is also important to remember that right here in the PowerPoint it says no one's a refugee by choice, and so all of this family has been forced to flee out of fear for their lives and liberty. Because of this, there's going to be major coping supports that are missing. By coming to Canada, there's new pressures. They could have post-traumatic stress disorder, and there will be an element of culture shock. And all of those pieces together here, all of those pieces will cause distress. And so it's important to remember that when perhaps people aren't communicating like you think they are, or there's pieces that you feel are missing. It's important to realize that there is another culture here, so there's cultural differences, but they're also under an immense amount of distress. And so to be gentle and show empathy and just listen is so very important. It's also important to just realize what happens during settlement. And I think you are all given a page on the 4 stages of cultural adjustment. And I'm just going to end the evening by quickly talking about so the 4 stages of cultural adjustment, and I think there are people in your room that can likely speak to this much better than I can. And you may want to share your experiences in your groups. But what happens is what I've been told is that it's just there's not a straight continuum. When we think of the integration continuum, um, that's not a straight line actually. There's the honeymoon stage, and that is this initial reaction of enthusiasm and fascination, and people are so excited and perhaps they're just so excited they can go to the grocery store and they can buy things. They can take their kids to the doctor and it's free. It's just amazing. And then that goes up and down, and then all of a sudden there's the period of challenge and crisis or culture shock in this PowerPoint it says. And that's when all of a sudden the differences in language and concepts and values and symbols, all of a sudden it's so frustrating that you've taken the wrong bus for the third time. Or it's so frustrating that once again you go to the same store all the time and they still cannot understand you, or you can't make your needs known in your child's classroom. And the culture shock comes when all of a sudden you say, I wish I was not here. I actually remember that at least in Beirut, at least in Beirut, I could speak my same language, and that was my very similar culture. And now I'm here in Swift Current, and everything is so different. And it's important to know that this is a stage that people will go through, and it's important to walk next to them and just to listen to them and to allow them to feel these feelings without saying, "Oh, but it was so much better here," or "Oh, this is so much better." Um, by not dismissing feelings, but allowing people to walk through this, and then slowly people start to come up again, and the phase of cultural adjustment happens. All of a sudden they start to have a sense of purpose again. They have a strong social support in this area, and it starts to feel better. And then finally they come to adaptation, where they begin to enjoy new culture, and there is much less anxiety and strain. But all these pieces will happen, and likely they may happen within the year, but likely they may not happen in the year. Sometimes people will skip the honeymoon stage if they're coming from a very difficult experience and perhaps their expectations in Canada are not met. They may hit right into culture shock, or they may hit right into the honeymoon stage. This is just kind of a basic outline to saying that there are stages of cultural adaptation. And it's important when you're going through things and you may hit a wall with your family where you're saying, this doesn't make any sense, or what, 2 weeks ago, I was her best friend and she was so thankful for everything. And now it seems like she doesn't like me anymore. Part of that is culture shock, and part of that is working through this. And so it's so important to communicate, and it's so important to be friends with people, walk alongside them, and 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 yeah, those are just a few points that I wanted to share with you tonight. And I wanted to open it up. I'm just going to stop this. I wanted to open it up for a few minutes to some questions if you have any specific questions.
Yeah, let's have some questions. I know that we've got a few. So let's get a few questions asked here, Dana. Very good.
Our legal system is probably something that they are not familiar with, and I know that occasionally I've dealt with people who become involved in domestic violence or inappropriate child discipline, drinking, driving, that sort of thing. Are they familiar at all with or is that something we're responsible to share with them?
Yeah, that would be something that you as a sponsor group would want to share with them. Um, is to talk about Canadian culture, domestic violence, um, what discipline looks like in Canada. Discipline looks is not hitting a child in Canada. Domestic violence is a crime, and so it is not appropriate in Canada. And that would be, as a sponsor group, that would be part of your orientation at the beginning.
Okay, other questions? You want to be the last question? Okay, we'll have to figure out a way to do that. Okay, someone else? Okay, Arlene.
Do they have any English, or do they speak any English at all?
You know, let me just look. As far as we know, it hasn't been written on their file. And so oftentimes we receive a brief profile of families. And oftentimes, if they do speak English, it's noted on their file. Sometimes families will come speaking a little bit more than we expect, or speaking less than we expect. There's no real way to tell until they.
Yes, there's a deluge of a lack of information on these things. So
Yes.
yes. Another question, what has been the experience of other Syrian refugees? Maybe you can just highlight a few of those things. That question was asked.
Oh, yeah. I just met, just actually right before this meeting, with a family that just came in January. and they came with four. They have four children, and they're a mom and a dad. They're probably in their 30s, and their experience has been quite positive. They came. Their sponsorship group had an apartment set up for them. A large piece of why they came was the health resources. One of their children has two of their children have some pretty significant health problems. And I think that's one piece that I feel people are very hopeful about when they come to Canada is our healthcare system. And particularly your family has some health needs. And the two other families that I've worked closely with also have health needs. And for parents to think about their children and their children being able to succeed and be healthy in Canada is a very hopeful, positive piece for them. And so that's been a really good experience for these families. This family I just met with tonight has a wonderful sponsor group that's kind of in and out. They have a schedule set up so that the mom and dad are taking turns doing English classes, so they can both go to English classes. They're taking turns. The sponsor group is taking turns driving the mom and the little boy to her English class, so that she can get there on time, so that they can switch. And then they're taking the bus home. They're really doing a good job at trying to figure out how to help the family the best way they can. So their experience has been very positive. I should be very honest. I had another experience where the family came, and it's been a hard road for them. They were expecting a lot more than what Canada gives. I think in any situation, sometimes there are rumors that happen, and the rumor mill is alive in Canada just as well as it's alive in every other country. And so I think some of her expectations as to what she was going to receive in Canada were not fulfilled, and that's been hard, and that's been frustrating. But at the same time, there's been a relationship that's been formed between her and the sponsor group, and and they are walking alongside next to each other, and it's good. It's good to have a community that walks next to you through the happy and the joyous parts of life, as well as the frustrating and hard parts of life. And so I think I've seen both sides of the Syrian sponsorship experience, and yeah.
Cool. The day that we grab them at the airport, is there anything different about that day, or is it just like picking up Grandpa and Grandma at the airport? Is there going to be sort of anything different we need to worry about?
No, it will be like picking up Grandma and Grandma.
Okay, good. Right? Got that done. Right.
But with a sign.
Grandpa and Grandma and 11 other people. Yeah, that's right.
A lot of times groups make welcome signs, or they have a little gift to give the family. Also, you will, like, if you have a translator that you want to bring with you, or I can also arrange something for you from Saskatoon if that doesn't work
Is
out.
it for sure Saskatoon because that's where you guys are?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Well,
That's
actually,
helpful.
Saskatoon and Regina are so close.
Makes no difference to us.
It makes no difference. So I chose Saskatoon.
Okay, good. Yeah. It's all of 10 kilometers different, I think.
Yeah, I actually Googled it, and
No.
it was very, very close. So
Excellent. Okay, other questions before Sam's penultimate question, which better be awesome because it's the last one.
Also, one thing about the arrival, I
Okay.
should note, I will phone because usually within a few days, the family will meet with the government, the immigration office here in Saskatoon. So I want to make sure you don't have to stay in Saskatoon with a huge family for many, many days. So I will work to see if we can get that the next day. So you may need to stay in Saskatoon for a day.
Okay, that's good to know. Good. What's that? How much notice do you normally get?
Well, prior to the 25,000 arriving, so in January and February, we were getting like 24 hours notice. Which is very little. But now that things have slowed down, they will not come on a charter plane because those charter planes have all come and gone now.
Yeah.
They will go on a regular airplane. So because of that, I would expect our typical, I haven't seen it yet, but my expectation would be that we would get a week
Okay.
at least.
Any idea, I mean, you'll be guessing again, I know, but any idea why our family necessarily is not showing up now? What's taking so long is the question.
I know. So I believe what's taking so long is that one of the families is going through a medical check.
That's what I was wondering, okay.
So it's half of off the top of my head, I can't remember the specifics, but it's half of the family is like ready. One of these, I believe it's like the big family is like ready to go and get on the airplane, but I think the grandma and grandpa have a few more things to do.
Okay, fair enough. We were guessing that as well, so that's fair enough. Okay, dare I give it to him? You know, see, Dana's been on now for 54 minutes, so this has to be a 5-minute question.
Well, the reason I waited till the end so I can take my sweet time. No, it really wasn't a question. I'm just here and I'm really humbled and thank you all for being here, for being, when I first came to Canada, I was a refugee, became a permanent resident, and I am a citizen now. So I look here at the faces and I'm really impressed and happy to see all of you that willing to come together and help a family. You know, I remember in the summer when I was in Lebanon, that's where I was born, I went to a refugee camp by my house, and you know, I promise you when I go next, I'll do a Skype and show you what you guys, by bringing a family here, what you have done, and you change someone's life for good. I'm speechless that to see that, you know, this community here in Swift Current, that you all came in here just to see how can you help this family. So for that, I thank you. I really appreciate that you all coming together, and God bless.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Well, that's great. Thank you very much for sharing. That was definitely worth being last. So, Dana, thanks.
Hey, thank you
And
so much.
if you want to stick around and watch, we're just going to introduce the people that are actually going to be working with the family. You're welcome to watch that and meet them. Oh, no. Sammy, just ignore this part. Fatima, is that you again? You have a question? Go ahead.
I just want to know if this sponsorship from Syria is over. No more people coming here, or refugees, or Canada is going to bring any more here.
No, they will continue to bring more people here. The expedited system that they were using for the last 2 months to meet their target of 25,000 by the end of February, that has stopped. So for those months, they increased the staffing in Lebanon and Jordan, and they had a whole system going so that they could very, very quickly expedite people. Once the 25,000 was hit, that staff was returned back home to Canada, and it now goes back to resuming regular capacity.
And I think our family was already in the system before the
Their family was already in the system beforehand, so they're very close to they're just about to come. A blended visa office referred case should come at any point now. So if we don't hear from them soon, I will write some emails to ask some questions about that.
Oh, you can just write them anyway.
I will write that tomorrow.
There you go. See, poor Dana, you know, this is Dana's job. So she gets people who sign up for families, and then the next 6 weeks is them asking every day, "Are my family here yet?" And Dana has to constantly say, "Not yet, Pastor Joel, take a pill, relax." But in fact, at the bottom of her email, it's very funny. It says something like, what does your email say? "Due to the large volume of email, please don't expect a response right away." Yeah, exactly. So, but we do appreciate Dana and her hard work, and all the folks at MCC. It's been awesome working with you, Dana, so far. And as long as you actually deliver a family, we'll be happy. Okay. But
No, thank you so much.
Sweet. All right. So well, while Dana's watching, we're just going to introduce what happened is the ministerial struck a committee to sort of be an interchurch group that would bring in refugees. I ended up being the chair of that committee. By the way, I'm Joel, from pastor here at the Baptist Church, in case you're wondering who I am, because I forgot to introduce myself. And on my committee, I just have a committee of a few people that are helping. We've got Janet Newbar helping with treasury. We've got Tammy Israelson, who's going to come up and share a couple words in a second, who is our public relations person, and Mabel Dirksen, who is our volunteers coordinator, who has been doing a great job of working with all you guys. And I'm missing someone. Who am I missing? Rachel, thank you. Is my secretary. Where's Rachel? She's not here either. Okay, that's why. Tammy, come on up. Tammy's just going to quickly share from her public relations sort of side of things a word of wisdom. How does that sound? Does that sound right?
Talk about pressure. Wisdom. Oh my gosh. Anyways, thank you again, Dana, for sharing with us. She actually covered some of the things that I was going to speak about as far as confidentiality for the family. Yes, there are so many volunteers. We're all excited and we all want to hear their story, but we do need to make sure that we hear it from them, right? And not just, oh, guess what happened? And guess what they told me? You know what I mean? So in our excitement, we need to make sure that we are honoring the family as much as we can in what we share, and also get permission to even like post pictures on Facebook, right? Like, or you just need to think of it as if you were putting yourself in their position, right? So would you want everyone to know where they lived? And, you know, so we just want, as a refugee committee, to just take that minute to think about, okay, how does it look to them even, like the cultural thing, right? Like, I'm doing this, but because I'm so excited and I want to show that I care about them, and want them to feel welcome so badly, but they might not see it in that way. Just like the piece with the laundry in the windows, right? The lady was doing fine laundry, but you know, the person on the other side of the glass wasn't seeing it in the right way. So we don't know, you know, if we flipped it over, like with the post-traumatic stress, or you know, wanting to feel secure and safe. We just want to make sure that they do feel that. And like was shared already, communication is a huge piece to that. And to be willing to hear, you know, something that we're not expecting, right? And to believe that as truth, saying, oh no, it's okay, you know, we'll just give it to you anyways, right? But to honor their decisions and that kind of thing.
Yeah, great.
And about that, Mabel and a few of the others on the Family Structure Committee wanted to make sure that you communicate with Mabel, like if you have something that you want to share with the family, whether it's food or other items that you want to donate to them. If you could all just kind of contact either Mabel, or she might direct you to the person in charge of food or in charge of clothing, or you know, that kind of thing. So first of all, they're not going to get 5 tuna casseroles in the first week, you know. We just want to make sure that they're being taken care of and not bombarded either. You don't want to have 50 people bringing things in the next 2 weeks and then nothing. So we just want to coordinate a little bit, and so we are so happy that you want to give them things, but to also do it in a timely manner that's going to bless them the most. So, yeah, just thank you so much for listening to that.
That's great. Thank you, Tammy. Appreciate that. That's actually a great segue into the actual team. So our vision as a ministerial is that we'll continue to sponsor refugees, and for every refugee family we bring, we would assemble a team. And this particular team has now been assembled for this particular family. And we're glad that you're all taking part in this training, because later on you may be part of another family team as we sort of stream ahead. We figured we'd jump in with 13 right off the bat, and the rest of them will be simple. But no, for sure, that's the plan. So we do appreciate you guys joining us. So I'm just going to introduce everybody on the team. You're supposed to have little signs. Do you have your little signs? Okay, good. All right. So I guess, oh yeah, now they have their little signs. All right, Scott, stand up with your little sign, please. There's Scott Matthews. He's our, what does your sign say? You can't, healthcare. Thank you very much. Scott will be coordinating the things like obviously taking care of their medical needs, whatever they happen to be, when we find out what they are, as well as coordinating with any of the health card issues and stuff like that. And Scott actually I think might even work in that industry. So, you want to say something, Scott? Okie dokie. Ferris, Saden, there he is. Hold up your sign. It says transportation and what? Hibernation? Hibernation, transportation, and interpretation. Great. So Ferris has been working on the transportation piece. We actually secured a vehicle, so that's even neat, as well as the interpretation. Interpret transportation. That's what we'll call it from now on.
Something to think about right now is what you said up there, that we might have to spend a night in Saskatoon, so anybody who wants to talk about the transportation and stuff like that, I'd like to talk to you after.
Okay, very good. So that's who you see. David Coop, where's my David? Where did he go? No, he's not here tonight. David is taking care of the technology and what else? That's it. Okay. So he's helping with setting up the technology, the meeting at the houses, where internet and phones and all that stuff. Denise Barbier, where she go? There's Denise. She's the education person. First thing you learn is how to say education properly. Denise has got a big job because she's dealing with a very large family, but she's already been in contact with the school boards, and it's been a wonderful thing so far. So thank you much, Denise. If you have any questions on that regard, see here. Raquel Beam, there she is. How do you say your last name? Beam or Byam? Beam. Yeah. When two vowels are walking, the second one does the talking in this case. And Raquel is in charge of the social. We actually explained this. So that's in regards to all their different activities that they want to get involved in. Sports.
Yeah, this is sort of if it doesn't fit under another committee.
There you go. Awesome. That's excellent, actually. Mabel's not here. It's Alicia. Where's Alicia? Tate. Good. Alicia's got food. Oh, very good. So poor Alicia. Anyways, there's a lot of people who've really been eager to sort of donate stuff and food in this regard. But that's who you talk to. Alicia, she'll be happy to help you with that. And Rachel Hyatt-Hebert is not here. What's her department again? What's left? She was secretary, right? Okay, good. Oh, that's my secretary. Never mind. Vanessa Zenadine is... Where's your paper?
Here, you got the same as mine.
Oh, okay. You're helping with the interpretation. And
Started off, he was doing transportation, I was doing interpretation.
you teamed up. Nicely done. Thank you very much. And Danielle Ferguson. Where's Danielle? There she is. Her little paper says finance. She's my personal favorite because there's always all kinds of interesting... You want... Okay, good. We can help her get rid of it. Yeah, exactly. And of course, Janet Newbar is from the ministerial has been already setting all that up. It's been great. We do have a fair amount of money already donated. We were able to actually purchase a freezer. Someone donated a freezer, brand new freezer. The ministerial bought a washer and dryer, but the rest of the house was really furnished by people donating things. And I believe also there's a fair number of groceries have been stocked. Oh, Corvin, you're on the list. Corvin, stand up. You know why? Because you're right underneath my name. I didn't want you to get billing. Corvin's our accommodations. He's actually, yes, indeed. Corvin was really, really motivated to get accommodations because I went up to him and said, Corvin, I want your house. He said, no, you can't have my house. I said, well, if you don't get a house, we're moving into your house. So he was really motivated and did a great job. So yeah, he's done a lot of work, and in a sense, he's kind of sort of waiting to see what happens next. As our house sits waiting for the family, and it's a great house, and we're very thankful for it. The owners have been very gracious. They just finished basically making a new house. They brought in a house from out of town, renovated it from stem to stern, and have graciously allowed us to lease it for a year when they could have just put it on the market. So we're very, very much blessed. But Corvin did a lot of great work in finding that, so thanks a lot, Corvin. Anybody else I missed? That's it. There you go, Dana. You met them all. And
Nice to meet you.
yeah, it is. It is nice to meet them. They're a nice bunch.
Yeah, it is.
And they're a hard-working bunch too. So, like I said, the plan is next family we will assemble another team. There may be some things that can overlap, but we're still going to need sort of that personal contact. We may have opportunities for all of us to meet the family. I'm sure hoping that happens, and I've got a hunch it will, but it'll be kind of up to them. If you notice that our United folks, United Church friends who got their family, they simply asked, hey, do you want to have a newspaper interview? And they said, yes, sure, why not? So, but it was up to them, right? And that was kind of the key in that. And it was a great article and a nice way to meet them in that regard. But we'll cross all those bridges when we get there, and we'll continue to pray for our family. And Dana and the MCC gang, thank you very much. We'll continue to pray for you and all your hard work. Dana's a good Baptist person, just like us around here, so shh, don't tell anybody. But there's a few of us kidding. But we know that there's been a lot of different churches working together. In fact, almost all the churches in town have been working together, and we appreciate all that input. And also had even input from our Muslim friends as well. Thank you very much for that help as well. So thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to pray, and then you need to go back and eat. You didn't want to eat before, but you need to eat now because there's a lot of food there. Am I missing anything, Scott?
So for any of the family team members that you want to volunteer with or help with, come see us after.
Yep.
Out here with our signs, so if you want help with food or social or healthcare or transport, come see us and we'll have chat and we'll bring up to speed with the details that we have.
Yeah, and it's nice to meet faces with the names. Many of your names have already been on our sort of our spreadsheet of awesomeness, which has been used to get all our volunteers. But yeah, see them afterwards during our snack time. Am I missing anything else? Wouldn't be the first time. Let's stand up, and then I'll pray. Lord Jesus, we just thank you now again for our time together. Thank you for this burden that you've placed in our heart to be good neighbors, to love our neighbors as you've commanded us to do in Scripture. And so as we continue to work through this, and we also continue to work with the MCC, thank you for their ministry, and Dana in particular and her team. Give them the patience they need and the energy they need on a regular basis, Lord, as this continues to be such a wonderful ministry. Lord, bless our community, and of course, Lord, for our family of 13, just allow them to keep safe, allow them to be able to travel soon. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, blessings. Please eat. Coffee, tea. Dana, blessings. We'll talk later.
Bye.
Don't worry about the chairs. I'll figure them out later.